Picture this scene from The Matrix, where Morpheus offers the red pill. He tells Neo that everything he believed was a lie. Most Christians live in a similar matrix regarding money. They've swallowed a blue pill that keeps them broke. The lie whispers that poverty brings you closer to God. But here's the truth bomb that will shatter everything. It's an oxymoron for you to be filled with the power of Jesus and be broke. This statement makes people uncomfortable because it exposes the contradiction. You claim to serve the God who owns everything, yet your bank account suggests you serve a broke deity. The math simply doesn't work when you examine it closely. God gives you the ability to create wealth, Deuteronomy 8:18. This ability comes from the same source as your salvation. Religious tradition has programmed believers to worship poverty like an idol. They quote verses about storing treasures in heaven while ignoring earthly stewardship. This mindset creates spiritual pride wrapped in financial defeat. Matthew 6:19-21. The early church laid money at the apostles' feet precisely because they understood resource management. Their poverty wasn't spiritual, it was strategic positioning for kingdom expansion. The fastest way to destroy someone's thinking capacity involves installing victimhood programming. This mental software convinces people their circumstances control their destiny. The borrower is slave to the lender. Proverbs 22:7. Victim mindset makes people easier to control and eliminate. When someone believes their poverty proves their spirituality, they've accepted demonic oppression. They've agreed to live beneath their covenant inheritance. Here's what your pastor probably won't tell you about Acts. The early believers pooled resources because they were strategically funding expansion. All the believers were together and had everything in common. Acts 2:44. This wasn't poverty worship, it was venture capital for the gospel. They sold possessions to fund the apostolic mission worldwide. The goal was multiplication, not martyrdom through financial suffering. In The Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort builds wealth through greed and manipulation. Many Christians see this and assume all wealth comes from evil. This creates a false binary between righteousness and resources. God's people can build wealth through kingdom principles and integrity. The difference lies in the source and the purpose. The wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. Proverbs 13:22. Satan benefits when God's people stay financially powerless and resource limited. Broke believers can't fund orphanages, plant churches, or influence culture. They depend on government programs instead of kingdom solutions. This keeps them voting for politicians who promise handouts. Meanwhile, the wicked accumulate resources and shape society's direction. Your poverty theology accidentally advances hell's agenda on earth. You cannot simultaneously believe in an all-powerful God and accept financial powerlessness. One belief system will eventually dominate the other completely. Either God has the power to prosper His people, or He doesn't have the power to overcome economic systems. Choose this day whom you will serve. Joshua 24:15. Your bank balance reflects your true beliefs about God's ability. Financial defeat suggests you worship a defeated deity. God's people are called to demonstrate heaven's abundance on earth as it is in heaven. Matthew 6:10. Heaven has no poverty, lack, or financial struggle whatsoever. Kingdom citizens should reflect heavenly conditions in earthly circumstances. This requires embracing wealth creation as spiritual assignment, not worldly compromise. Your prosperity becomes a prophetic statement about God's character. If you truly believe God owns everything, money anxiety disappears. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. Psalm 24:1. Real faith produces supernatural peace about provision and resources. Worry about money reveals doubts about God's ownership and provision. The size of your faith shows up in financial boldness. Small faith produces small financial outcomes and constant money anxiety. Most Christians think mammon just means money or greed. This surface-level understanding keeps believers trapped in financial bondage. Mammon operates as a principality, a demonic intelligence that governs economic systems. No one can serve two masters. Matthew 6:24. This spiritual entity uses sophisticated strategies to destroy God's people. Understanding its tactics will change how you approach every financial decision. Mammon deploys two primary weapons against believers with surgical precision. The first weapon is greed, convincing people to chase money exclusively. The second weapon is poverty mindset, teaching people they shouldn't have money. Both strategies lead to the same spiritual destination: complete separation from God. The love of money is the root of all evil. 1 Timothy 6:10. Notice it's the love, not the money itself. Think about Wall Street when Gordon Gekko declares, "Greed is good." This represents Mammon's first deception perfectly. Money becomes the only measure. Successful business owners start measuring everything by profit margins alone. They sacrifice family, health, and relationships for more revenue streams. Eventually, they burn out because money cannot satisfy the soul. What does it profit a man to gain the world? Mark 8:36. The second trap is more subtle, but equally destructive spiritually. Religious people embrace poverty as proof of their spiritual maturity. They quote scriptures about storing treasures in heaven, while ignoring earthly stewardship. This creates a false spirituality that actually serves Satan's agenda. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Hosea 4:6. Voluntary poverty limits kingdom impact and resource availability for ministry. Here's what happens when you serve both God and mammon simultaneously. You pray for provision while making deals with questionable business partners. You tithe on Sunday, then cheat on taxes Monday morning. You claim God as your source while depending on credit. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Mark 3, verse 25. This compartmentalization will eventually destroy everything you've built through mixed allegiances. Today's idolatry doesn't involve golden calves or physical altars anymore. Instead, it manifests as compartmentalization, saying one thing while doing another. A business owner claims to trust God for breakthrough. Then they manipulate numbers and bend rules to force outcomes. They ascribe God's blessing to their own shrewd maneuvering. You cannot serve God and money. Luke 16, verse 13. The heart reveals its true master through daily choices. Remember Scarface when Tony Montana loses everything through uncontrolled ambition? Many Christian entrepreneurs follow this same destructive pattern with spiritual language. They build empires while destroying their character and relationships. Success becomes their idol, even when they quote Scripture. Money changes from a tool into a master that demands sacrifice. Pride goes before destruction. Proverbs 16, verse 18. The pursuit of wealth without wisdom leads to spiritual death. Socialism appears compassionate, but functions as a sophisticated control mechanism. It teaches people their poverty is everyone else's fault. This victim programming destroys personal responsibility and initiative completely. When people believe they deserve equal outcomes without equal effort, dependency follows. If anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 10. This system makes populations easier to control and eliminate. The most sinister aspect of socialist programming targets specific populations. It was deployed strategically after civil rights to destroy family structures. When you convince people their circumstances are everyone else's fault, you remove their power to change those circumstances permanently. This creates generational dependency that serves the elite's agenda. The truth will set you free. John chapter 8, verse 32. Financial independence threatens systems built on human dependency. Every financial decision reveals which master you actually serve daily. You either operate from kingdom principles or worldly systems. There is no neutral ground in this spiritual war. Choose this day whom you will serve. Joshua chapter 24:15. Your bank account, business practices, and money conversations expose truth. The fruit of your financial life shows your real allegiance. Capitalism was God's idea, not socialism. This statement makes progressive Christians uncomfortable because they've been programmed wrong.
God designed free market principles thousands of years before economists existed. The Bible contains the most sophisticated economic theory ever written. The plans of the diligent lead to profit. Proverbs 21:5. Divine economics reward effort, creativity, and wise resource management. Joseph's economic strategy during Egypt's famine demonstrates perfect free market principles. He stored grain during abundance and sold it during scarcity. Joseph collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan. Genesis 47:14. People paid market prices for survival resources without complaint. This wasn't exploitation. It was brilliant resource allocation that saved lives. Joseph's capitalism prevented mass starvation across multiple nations effectively.
When Joseph's customers ran out of money, they offered livestock. When livestock was gone, they offered themselves as workers. You have saved our lives. Genesis chapter 47, verse 25. These people expressed gratitude for the opportunity to work. They understood that employment beats starvation every single time. Remember trading places when the Duke brothers manipulate commodity markets? They tried to corner the orange juice market through insider information, but Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy beat them using superior strategy. Markets punish manipulation and reward genuine value creation consistently. Dishonest scales are an abomination to the Lord. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 1. Free markets self-correct when people operate with integrity. And that's how God's design for wealth reclaims territory from hell's economy.